hunt, 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 hunt. Hunt, 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 hunt.
Welcome to the Where to Hunt podcast, the podcast that connects public land hunting enthusiasts. I'm your host, Eric Clark, and I don't talk about what I know, I talk about what I want to know. That way no one can come back at me and tell me I'm not an expert. I already know that. Today we're going to be talking about coyote hunting and specifically how to call them in. Per the episode last week, we had a couple inquiries about more specifics on how to actually call a coyote in, and I don't know how to do that. So I read some articles online and felt that I was seeing too much of things that were not making sense. Some people would say this works, and the other guy would say that doesn't work, and someone would say, oh, no, it does work. And so I took it upon myself to find a guest who is highly qualified. You can find him on a recent publication of the On Wisconsin Outdoors periodical. It is Terry Russ of Russ Tree Service, who happens to be one hell of a coyote hunter, and you'll hear all about it on this episode. So, in honor of keeping things moving and try to keep it short and sweet, I'm going to go ahead and bring him on right now. All right, we're going to go ahead and welcome Terry Russ to the show. Thanks for being on the show today, Terry.
Thank you.
Cool. Want to get into a couple things here, and before we go too far, let's get an introduction underway here. Tell us about yourself, your experience and expertise with coyote hunting.
Well, I've probably been hunting coyotes for 15, 18 years, and in that time I've called in probably 10 different states and called and shot coyotes in 10 different states, including Wisconsin. My total is up around 550 or something like that, and I've shot quite a few bobcats, fox, badgers, and other different things in different states. And I don't know what it is, but it just gives me a good adrenaline rush when I do it, so I just continually do it. And I own my own tree service, so it's kind of a thing. I don't do it as much as I'd like to, but as much as I can get out there in the wintertime, I do it.
Hell yeah. So even after 500 plus kills, you still get the adrenaline rush every time, huh?
Yeah, it's still, and if they come in from a long, long distance, it's by the time they, like when I'm out west, you can see them for a mile coming in. By the time they get to me, sometimes it's like hard to make a good shot because you're so excited.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool.
Just on a small side, what kind of rifle do you bring? A sidearm, a rifle, shotgun? What's your weapon of choice most often? My
favorite gun is the AR in 223, but I have different uppers made. I have it in 17 Remington, 204 Ruger, and 243 super short mag, which I use more open country for longer shots.
Mm-hmm.
And I shot a bobcat at 565 and a coyote at 580 yards.
Wow.
My longest shots.
It's not even fair.
It might have been a little lock too, but I don't know.
That's crazy. And then that's one shot, one kill. You're putting them down, right?
Yeah.
That's the word on the street here. I read that about you in the article from On Wisconsin Outdoors. You're a pretty badass shot.
Yeah, I guess I've just had a good year this year, but yeah, it pays to be a good shot. I never get as much practice as I'd like to because I'm so busy in the summertime. Otherwise, I'd like to practice shooting at longer distances, but time is a thing.
Yeah. Well, for you, it might be like riding a bike. You never forget, apparently. You're doing pretty good.
Yeah, well, when I was a kid, I always had BB guns and pellet guns, and I'd spend hours and hours shooting those, and I guess it just helped with training the trigger and the eye to matching up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And sometimes when I'm out west or even around here, if I'm hunting in thicker country, I'll use a shotgun with a extra tight choke and some dead coyote buckshot,
mm-hmm.
which works good out to like 60, 70 yards.
That's quite the distance still for a shotgun. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move along, try to keep it as efficient as possible, just so we can keep people's attention here. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the show is that I had a couple of inquiries about more specifics on how to call coyotes in. You're doing this at night, right? More often than not? Okay.
Around here, out west, I go during the day because they're not as nocturnal because there's not as many people around.
Makes sense.
They're kind of like raccoons in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
In the east side of this country.
Raccoons are a pain in the ass. I've freaking had a battle camping with raccoons last summer. Chucking beer cans at them. I don't know what else to do. It's a whole nother story. So how many how many calls? How many different types of calls are there for a coyote?
Oh, thousands probably.
What categories would you break them up to?
Like distress calls, which is like rabbit, goat, cow, pig, bird, animals in distress, more or less what it is. And then you have all your different coyote vocalizations, which there's probably 30 or 40 that they make.
And as someone that's like yourself that's been doing this for as long as you have with the success that you've had, do you get familiar with what those are? Kind of like how someone gets used to what, they know what when their baby's crying, why it's crying and what it means.
I think more or less what they're doing is just coming in to kill something in their territory is more or less what it is.
So they're just making their presence known to other coyotes.
Yeah, Mother Nature's way of culling the herd to make things more healthy.
Interesting. Yeah, because unlike wolves, coyotes are more or less loners versus wolves are more family and pack orientated. But you're saying like when they'll come in, they'll call and more will come?
Yeah, it just happened the other night. I shot one, came crunching in on the snow. I didn't see him, and I turned around. He was like 30 yards from my decoy in front. I shot that one, and then I kept calling for another half hour, 40 minutes, and heard some more crunching. I looked out in my night vision, and there was another one coming in. And this one came up. The other one I shot, I hit him right in the heart, and it took off running for like 50 yards and did a death run and then died and tumbled. And this other one came in and walked up like 5 yards from the tracks where the blood trail was and then kind of started looking around. So boom, I shot that one. They were laying like 30 yards apart. I've had them where they were almost nose to nose, where they're laying down after I shot them.
That's crazy. And that's because you're in that scenario you're using like the calls of a coyote itself and not the stress call of a different animal, right?
Basically I'll mix in a few bird sounds just to sometimes make them feel like there's a natural feeling to them so they're not spooked at all. But a lot of times after that, use coyote and distress calls.
Okay, and then so I guess it's going to be tough to ask some of these questions because there are so many variables, but in your experience, which has been the most effective?
Call?
Yeah.
I guess it depends on what time of year it is. Like right now, howling is probably the best way to do it. Early in the year, different distress calls are better.
Why is that as far as winter being a good time for the howling or distress for some other time of the year?
Well, now, because we're coming towards the end of mating season, so they get territorial over their area and territorial over a female and over their pups and stuff like that. And then early in the season, about September, October, they kind of push all the pups out of from the den and the pack in the area. They push them out because there's not enough food to feed all the big dogs anymore. Mm-hmm. So then you get all these dogs or solitary dogs trying to find their own little territory. So they move into any area they can find where the coyotes haven't claimed it already. Mm-hmm. And they're real naive, so they'll come into anything they hear looking for food.
Wow, that's kind of cool. Good to know. This is why I'm asking you these questions. Stuff I don't know. So what? And we talked about this before I hit the record button. But I had read an article where someone had stated, hey, I don't use a mouse call until they are close by because they had said allegedly the coyote, if it hears it from a long distance, it could potentially know that that's a false call because it shouldn't be able to hear a mouse at that distance. So in what scenarios are best suited for which type of call, going off of that article, which I don't think is 100% true, obviously.
No, that's totally false because when I first started calling, all I used was hand calls until I kept getting more in depth to it, so I wanted more and more different things to use, and you get sick of blowing a mouth call after a while too, somewhat. First thing I started with was just a turkey reed call, and I use that. And you can do a dying rabbit on that or a howl with that. So it's kind of, some people only use hand calls, that's all they swear by, and they do pretty good. And it seems like this day and age, there's so many more people using electronic calls that they're starting to get kind of more used to the repetition of an electronic call.
Versus having your own, you can kind of change up the intervals and the intensity. And
everybody sounds different from their own mouth. Mm-hmm. Last year I was out hunting up north, and I would stand, and I had my call out there, and the thing wouldn't work. But luckily, I had a couple of calls in my pocket, and I used the mouth calls, and I called one and I shot one. So
that's cool. So variety, kind of like, I don't know, I don't golf, but it seems like a golfer has a club for all sorts of different situations. You kind of want to be prepared for anything.
Yeah, and with the electronic calls, you can have just about any song. I got I have 135 on my electronic caller right now. And I was going to put a few more on there. You always add some calls. You go through them. You don't use probably, but 10 or 20 calls out of there. But it's nice to have them. Like during the day, sometimes I'll just switch on a bunch of crow calls and get a big swarm of crows going over the top of me, just to make it sound more realistic.
Wow, man, that's like, it's almost like you're some sort of sorcerer at that point in Mother Nature. You're conjuring up crows to cover anything else up, bring it up. Yeah, that's cool. See, that's like, I never would have thought of that just by reading or something like that. And if I go out and do it, obviously you'll learn by doing, so I'll learn more as I go. But talking to someone like yourself who's had the experience, man, that's a freaking great tip.
Yeah, and same thing when I'm down New Mexico. I use raven calls, and they come in. That's all I use, a raven call. Sometimes I hear a bunch of ravens. They know there's some food there, so they come in and check it out.
That's crazy.
Because I've had at this time of year where I first started, I'd use a rabbit. I was in South Dakota, and I was using a rabbit call, and I seen a coyote way out there. As soon as I hit the rabbit call, I seen him turn around and run the other way.
Wow. I mean, they're pretty tough. So, okay, so that brings me to my next question then. I don't know if there's a direct answer here, a direct distance, but how far can you call a coyote from? How far can they hear a call?
Oh, long ways. I'd say this time of year they'll probably come maybe the farthest because you're in their territory or whatever, maybe like another month from now when they're all paired up and making their den, and then they guard it real fiercely. Mm-hmm. But I'd say a mile to 2 miles.
Wow. That's a bit. I mean,
I've had them when they howled at me, I could barely hear them. And then I keep calling, and all of a sudden you hear them howl again. You can tell they're getting closer, and then before you know it, half hour, 40 minutes, they're all the way to you.
That's crazy. What do you find drives the most interactivity where there's a back and forth? Is that the howling?
Yeah.
So that's got to be kind of fun, huh?
Yeah, I just had one the other night, Saturday night. I was out and I shot 2 of them, and then one ran away and was hiding behind these trees, and we were howling back and forth for probably 45 minutes to an hour. I could never get that one to come in, so I kind of gave up on him.
Probably saying, F you, pal, I'm not moving.
Yeah. But I could tell he would move away. I could tell he was quieter. And then I changed up to a couple different howls and stuff, and then he moved in closer. He was real loud again. Then he moved back, so he was going back and forth. I almost got him to come in, or if he did come in, maybe I didn't see him because it was kind of thick brush on some parts where he was, but you never know.
So just to stir things up a little bit, is there, I would be a little nervous to walk away from that situation, having not shot him, knowing he's still right there. Have you had any, I know you said it's adrenaline, you get a lot of adrenaline out of doing this, but have you had any close encounters, so to speak, with a coyote or any other predator that you've hunted?
Well, I've had them, when I first started calling, I'd just put the calling box right up in front of me. And I've had them come running in where I shoot them. They end up laying by my feet. But the only other close encounter I have is if I shoot one and I would actually wound them. Like in South Dakota, I shot one and he went out there. They got a lot of draws and gullies and stuff, and this one dove down into a hole in the ground. Oh. And he was way down, it was kind of like a upside down volcano, cone shaped.
Yep.
So I climbed down in there and I could see him down in there. I grabbed him by his tail, and little did I know he was still alive. And as I was pulling him up, he turned around. He tried to bite me, and luckily I had my gun right up my other hand. Mm-hmm. He just turned around, swung my hair on, and pow, hit him again before he could bite me. Blew out my eardrums out because I was down in the hole.
Jeez. Yeah, that'll get you going. Holy crap.
Yeah. I got holes in some of my boots from biting me and stuff, here and there.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's so do you try to not grab the tail now when you get them? You just poke them in the eye, be sure they're dead, or what?
No, I guess I just more of adrenaline rush and stuff like that. It doesn't bother me so. One time I did the same thing. I was hunting in Texas and I shot a bobcat and it was back in the bushes, but that one I wasn't dumb enough to get too close to. I ran back to the truck and got the shotgun so I wouldn't tear his hide up too much.
Nice. We talked about this before I hit the record button too, but how much time I don't know. Do you think someone needs to spend with like these hand calls or like the mouth calls or whatever before they'll get the hang of it? Like successfully, as far as, I mean, that's obviously subjective or different per each person, but a
Right.
general kind of rule of thumb, if you were to like start taking this seriously and get at it, you'd probably want how much of your time dedicated to this before you think you'd be any good at it.
If you use a close read call, which is one that you just kind of blowing air through it, you can master that probably pretty quick, in 20 minutes or something. But the open read, it's got like a little reed on it, kind of like a musical instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put your tooth under your lip on it, and how far up and down, back, how much pressure you put on it, how hard you blow, all varies. So it's kind of got to train yourself to use that.
So it's gotta be kind of fun to learn that stuff too. And then how much do the electronic calls range from? If you're just getting into it versus you're kind of more of an intermediate, do you want to add more? You said you have 135, I think, earlier.
Yeah.
Hours. So what does that look like in dollars? What are you getting?
Well, with all the extra calls in there, it's probably around $1,000 or so.
Oh man, you're not kidding. Holy crap. At an entry level, is that a couple $100?
Yeah, you can get electronic calls all the way from probably $50 to $800, which is about the price what I paid for mine, $700 now. When they first came out, they were more expensive. But now they're getting cheaper because there's more and more of them on the market. But you keep adding more calls to it, then it costs you more money.
So you buy the device, and then the upcharge comes in, like, you know, the getting more calls. Kind of like you buy a razor, now you got to pay $17 for 2 more razors.
Yeah, for the calls I use, because they're all digitally live recorded, like 3 feet from the animal's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little more expensive. Like on some of the sites, you can go and download calls for free. But a lot of them are just people making a sound with hand calls too.
Interesting. I suppose you get good enough at it, you could start to sell those, huh?
Yeah.
That's one way to go.
Probably could.
So, do you provide service to people who need predation removed off of their land for any reason? Is that something that you're okay? Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Right now, I'm just kind of doing it for shits and grins. You might want to call it, just for the, getting more hunting spots to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
If I start getting a lot of spots, then eventually I might start charging for it. But right now it's just kind of a hobby for me. So the more spots I can get, the better. With coyote hunting, I've found over the years, is the less times you hit a spot, the better.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can hunt each spot once or twice a year, it just increases my odds of shooting the coyotes.
So it's almost like really exciting to say, all right, I got a new patch of land I'm going to go dig into here, and that means I probably have a higher probability of getting something, huh?
Definitely. I go out and knock on doors and I get some, then I'm excited to go out, check out the land then. But then after you hunt it once and shoot a couple, it's like, oh, you don't have as good a chance as going back and getting them out of there the same year. But I was just like Saturday night, I was hunting the other day, and that was a spot where they've had people hunting there a lot. And I didn't, just because it's like a pheasant farm.
Yep.
I figured, what the hell, I'll give it a shot, and I howled, and within 20 seconds of me howling, they howled back at me, and within another 4 or 5 minutes, I could see them coming in.
That's cool. That's super cool.
Yeah. I didn't think I was going to have luck there at all, but that's the thing, you never know. So if you don't get out of bed and try it, you're not going to know.
Exactly. Yeah, that's an interesting way to get a thrill. I used to be more of an adrenaline junkie. I think I just found another vice to get me back on board with that.
Yeah.
I've been highly interested in it, which is why we're doing this type of episode here, so I can learn more. I'm very selfish when I do these podcasts. I try to do things that I want to learn about. I'm not an expert on most of the stuff, but I definitely want to gain more information. I assume I'm not the only one, so appreciate taking the time today to talk about it. How can people get in touch with you if they want to come kill some coyotes?
I can give you my 2 phone numbers. One is 414-422-9298. That's my home number and my tree service number. There'll be an answering machine on that one. My other one's my cell number, which is 414-975-6785.
Cool. And then do you want to drop a line for your tree service too? When things start heating up, if anyone revisits this episode, they need a tree chop down, who they going to call?
They're called Russ's Tree Service, 414-422-9298. I specialize in hard and difficult trees to remove. I have a crane, bucket trucks, spider lift, all sorts of specialized equipment, and a little loader, so I don't do much damage to articulated loader to do much damage to people's lawns. Everything's kind of turf friendly.
Cool. You're doing the difficult trees because the adrenaline rush, right? Not for the dollar.
Yeah, that's kind of like you. I've always liked doing stuff that was adrenaline rush. Yeah, and the bigger and harder it is to do, and I guess keeps your mind thinking because you always got to come up with different scenarios to get things down without breaking anything.
Yep, critical thought is a fun process. It's
yeah,
never ending. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you for taking time out of the woods to be on the show. That said, everyone, hopefully you learned something from this. We're going to let you go, okay?
Thank you.
All right, have a nice night.
You too.
Want to just take a quick moment to say thank you again for Terry, for being on the show. He's got 18 years of coyote hunting experience in 10 different states, including Wisconsin, and has around 550 kills under his belt. So if you're looking for some adrenaline-based hunting, this is something to definitely look into. And then as far as the calling goes, the main thing I picked up on this is to just be creative. Terry had mentioned he called in, a flock of crows to make it seem more natural. And I told him it's kind of like it's like he's a wildlife sorcerer, calling in animals to kind of give you some cover, some sound cover to make sure you're not heard and to make it more natural and create that environment. That's freaking awesome. And it's highly creative. And the best thing you can possibly do is learn as many different types of callings as you can. And, or if you got the money for it, you can get those all on the electronic call, which seem to be expensive at the higher end, closer to $900 to $1,000. So maybe you want to start with a mouth call or something. Anyway, again, trying to keep things moving along here. So I have a lot more to do tonight, and I will let everyone go. Thanks again for listening. If you could do me a favor, give me a rating on iTunes. I'd really appreciate it. Positive, hopefully, not negative. And I'm Public. Have a great night.